February 27th, 2026 marks 30 years since the original Pokemon games came out in Japan, and from there, Pokemon has become this global giant of a franchise that's branched out in so many different facets that you can think of. I got this shirt on right now, gotta catch them all. On the back, it's Gen 4, I think. Yeah, Gen 4. But when I was a kid, I didn't actually play the games, but I did collect a lot of the cards. Me and my brother had a lot of cards. Honestly, now that I think about it, I think Pokemon cards were some of the first things that I've ever collected. Of course, like many other 90s kids then, I grew up watching the original anime and saw Ash and friends go on their journey through the Kanto region, then going into the Orange Islands, and then going into the Johto stuff. And towards the end of the Johto run during Pokemon Master Quest, I remember witnessing the introduction of the sickest, most badass Pokemon that I had ever seen. Blaziken. My jaw dropped. I thought he was so cool, and I still think he's super cool. Probably because he kind of reminds me of a Power Ranger. But after seeing the almighty Blaziken, I was so hyped for the next generation of Pokemon, and to this day, Gen 3 is still my favorite generation. I eventually stopped collecting the cards and keeping up with the anime, probably after Hoenn, which is also probably around the same time that I got into Super Sentai, which, by the way, you should go check out those videos if you haven't already. But Pokemon was always there. It was always present in my life, and I never stopped liking it. I was always interested in seeing the new generations of Pokemon, even though I wasn't fully invested in the franchise. So I mentioned earlier that I didn't play the games growing up. In fact, I didn't play any video games growing up. I didn't have the Nintendo 55 or whatever the heck it is. I was just never interested. I only ever cared about toys, and I suck at games. Oh my god, like I suck so bad. But just 10 years ago, me, my friends, and so many other people around the world got super hooked on this little game called Pokemon Go. Yes, I know it's not a video game or like a mainline game, but for someone like me, for someone who doesn't play video games, this was a step in a direction. But it's so easy. All you gotta do is download it on your phone. Like, this marked a new era for me in my Pokemon fan life. I was addicted to this game. It was such a phenomenal idea for a Pokemon game. Going out into the real world and catching Pokemon. My friends and I would go out, discover new things, catch some Pokemon, and just have a good time. Just like Ash and his friends. We eventually adopted the group name the Magikarp Gang. I don't remember exactly when or why we called ourselves that. I assume it was around 2016, and I mean, come on, it's Magikarp. Like, it's freaking Magikarp, you know? And we'll still refer to ourselves as the Magikarp Gang every once in a while. Actually, when I moved to Japan a couple of years ago, the gang gave me a framed drawing of Magikarp with good luck messages on the back. It's still one of my prized possessions today. Right before I moved to Japan, most of the gang slowed down or even stopped playing Pokemon Go. The initial hype died down, but nevertheless, it was still a fun game whenever I opened the app. After moving to Japan, I was told by some coworkers of mine that Pokemon Go was just as huge as it was when it first came out. And they were not kidding. Even to this day, whenever I go out to like downtown or whatever, I see a bunch of people still playing, doing raids, doing battles, playing community days. It's still pretty big. Around 2019, my curiosity peaked and I started looking up videos on YouTube of other people playing Pokemon Go. The first video I came across was one of JT Gilly's Go Fest videos. I was very impressed. I didn't know that Pokemon Go had events like that. I had barely even paid attention to the in-game events, honestly. And believe it or not, this is when I first learned about the existence of shiny Pokemon. Yes, I know, I was very late to the game on that one. Actually, I had caught a shiny Pokemon not too long before that, and I remember being super confused as to why it was a different color, but I don't think I really bothered to look into it at the time. So as I went through JT Gilly's channel and watched his content, I thought to myself, I want to do this too. I want to make my own Pokemon Go videos. We have the Heroes of Fandom YouTube channel, so why not? So in January of 2020, right before the pandemic, I filmed and released my first Pokemon Go video, Piplup Community Day. It was the first comm day that I had ever participated in, and it was so much fun. It was super exciting to have the higher chance at catching these rarer variants of Pokemon. And just like that, Piplup became the Pokemon that kicked off our Pokemon Going series. We filmed a lot of great episodes in this series, with some of my favorites being episode 100, where we showcased Pokemon catching in both Japan and the States, episode 150, the first time we actually played together in person after starting the series, and episode 175, the series finale. The series has since wrapped up, but I'm happy and thankful that we were able to capture all these fun adventures. It was a good 4-year run. And now we are here on the 30th anniversary of Pokemon. These days I very rarely play Pogo, but I have been playing a lot of Pokemon TCG Pocket. It's been pretty cool. I like having packs to open every day, and the art on these cards is really awesome, especially those immersive art cards. Me and the boys do videos every time a new set comes out, so make sure to check out those videos if you haven't already. And speaking of cards, we also open actual Pokemon cards on stream. Sometimes English cards and sometimes the Japanese stuff, so make sure to hit notifications for our channel so you don't miss out on the streams. And that has been my life as a Pokemon fan. Here are the 3 Pokemon that have been impactful to my life as a fan. But of course there are plenty of other significant Pokemon to me, like Oshawott, Marill, Ho-Oh, and of course the BB Staryu and Starmie. And I gotta shout out Pikachu for carrying this entire freaking franchise on his back. Let us know in the comments, how did you get into Pokemon, and what Pokemon have had some meaningful impacts in your life? I think every Pokemon fan has got to have at least one of those, so make sure to let us know. Thank you so much for checking out our Pokemon stuff here on the channel. I know it's not the most successful content that we have on our channel, but, you know, to all of you who do watch, we appreciate you. And also a huge thank you to Pokemon for the last 30 years. Here's to another 30.